In the box. What's in the box? Is that what you're asking? I think we're all here to see what's in this special box. Happy birthday to me. First off, thank you so much to the Dork Father for getting all this stuff for me. He collected over the span, from what I understand, over the holidays. Yeah, 5 weeks until EverCon. Holy crap. So, without any further ado, let's dig in to see what's in this box. It's kind of amazing. It's actually kind of amazing. And if you're a big... I won't say I was gonna say collector, and I guess if you can kind of consider me a collector since I have collections of games, but I consider them more of a library. They have purpose. I'm not collecting them for the sake of collecting. I like having them for game conventions, and I like having them for special events. To have all this stuff, though, it really helps the show, and it really helps fill in some spots in games that we didn't have in the past. So, without any further ado, here we go. This is a big one. An NES. Who doesn't have an NES? I don't know. You need one if you don't have one. Now, I think in terms of the conventions, LinkCon and EverCon, I think this is our fifth Nintendo. And believe it or not, we use them all. So an NES was in the box. What else was in the box? Speaking particularly about things for the NES, we got not one, but two Nintendo satellites. Now, these are really crazy cool multi-taps for the Nintendo. They're so cool, in fact, that you use an adapter connected to the Nintendo, and you can have this wirelessly connected across the room, within 5 to 10 feet away, however far away you want it. It is battery operated, which is unfortunate. There is no plug to power them. I wish there was instead of having a battery, but you can put it, I think they're C's even. Check this out, C's. I think you have to put 8 in there. Or no, you put 6 C's in there. These will probably never get used, unfortunately. You connect them up and you can have them across the room and have controllers hooked up to them. So cool for multi-taps. Unfortunately, not as good as a 4-score. I'd rather have a 4-score, which just allows you to play 4 players wired. But kind of a cool thing, a cool feature for back in the day if you were a Nintendo guy who wanted to play games wirelessly. Game controller. Another game controller. Matter of fact, I think there's like 6 or so controllers in here. There's 4 right here in my hand. A whole bunch of Nintendo controllers. And a whole bunch of zappers. There's like 4 more zappers in here. So we got controllers, zappers, and an NES. How about some games? Oh, and lots of hookups too. Matter of fact, one of the cooler things that's in here is we've got a few NES-style AC adapters, which is really good. Now, how about some games? Some of these are amazing classics that we didn't have before. Some of them we've got duplicates of. This is an incredibly good side-scrolling beat-em-up called POW, Prisoners of War. This is an SNK side-scrolling beat-em-up for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Great game. We've got Capcom's classic Bionic Commando, which of course is a sequel to just regular Commando. I'm just kidding, it's not. But Bionic Commando is an amazing action platformer. One of them that really makes you think because you have a grappling hook, but you do not have a jump button. One of those interesting games. You can shoot and you can grappling hook. Commando by Capcom is, of course, an interesting war soldier type game. Really, really good one. Arcade port for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Destroy the enemy army. Another night, another stream. How's it going, Dorkfather, my brother? We're going over a really cool package that I got from one of my coolest friends in the whole world. Destination Earthstar by Acclaim. Not a lot of familiarity with this one at all, but I think it's a good shoot 'em up. Don't remember this one very well. Super Mario 3. That's one of what I would consider the games. You know, if you're going to be growing up as a child or any time in life, and certain games come out across generations of game consoles, Super Mario 3 is the game. I remember you can identify that yellow box anywhere from across any building, across the room, whatever. You look at it and you say, that's Super Mario Bros. 3. An absolute must-have. One of the most incredible and most important games in the history of video games. A really strange one here. This is one I'm actually not super familiar with at all. It's Irem's Kickle Cubicle. This is a really cool platformer game. Actually, no, it's more of a puzzle game. I looked it up just to see what the price was on it. I thought it was kind of a more rare one, but it's just fairly rare. An average. Uncommon, but not rare. Yeah, Mario 3. Probably one of the best games ever made. That's not all, though, folks. NES Open. Tournament Golf. Played a ton of Commando. Commando's great. NES Open is actually the sequel to just Golf, Nintendo Golf. This is a really good one, NES Open. Pretty classic. Classic. Then we got a whole bunch of really big ones in a row here. Is the GOAT. Now, where's the Fortnite cartridge? Yeah, where is the Fortnite cartridge? Star Tropics. If you may remember, I played through this guy last year. Played through original Star Tropics on NES. Fucking phenomenal game. One of the greatest games of all time. Another one of the games, Tetris. Super important. Hugely important on the Game Boy. Legendary game. A couple of really strange ones. These are actually fairly uncommon because of how late they came in the life cycle of the Nintendo. I think these were 1993 and 1994's Yoshi and Yoshi's Cookie. Two pretty important games. Now, if you think about Yoshi, the character Yoshi was introduced in Super Mario World, which was on the Super Nintendo. So they wound up making some of these games on the original Nintendo. Yoshi and Yoshi's Cookie are both two different puzzle-type games. And speaking of puzzle-type games, this is one of the last NES carts ever made. Wario's Woods. Another late-gen game. It's an interesting one where you play as Toad, of all characters, in a puzzle-type platformer game. And, of course, Mario and Duck Hunt, because what collection wouldn't be complete without Mario and Duck Hunt? Phenomenal games. There are a bunch of controllers in here. There's a bunch of zappers. Got the Nintendo console itself. Got the two NES satellites. Now let's move on to something a little different. Now there's a couple power plugs for the Sega Genesis and one controller. That is the ProPad 6, which I really like the ProPad 6. It's actually a really nice controller. Pretty good responsive controls. A little bit of spongy D-pad, but a really good controller for the Sega Genesis, which is, of course, always important. Controllers are a huge asset when you're doing game conventions because, my God, how many times do controllers go bad? And you just got to go back to the box of bin of stuff and go and find more controllers. And that's exactly what we do. It's very important. And then a couple pretty cool Genesis games. Let me think here. Let's start with NHL Hockey 93. It's not the elusive NHL 94. NHL 94 and 95 are two of the best hockey games on the Genesis, but 93 was really good too. Very serviceable game. It was the first of the EASN library of games, Electronic Arts Sports Network, kind of a play on the ESPN, but a very good hockey game. Mortal Kombat 3, friggin' legendary game, of course. This one is actually picked up at St. Vincent de Paul, but yeah, complete with box and instructions and everything. Genesis games are so great that these clamshell cases came with them for most of the Genesis's legacy because, man, getting games complete nowadays for, 1993 this came out? No, this is 95, so 31 years ago, still complete, case and instructions. Probably the exact original case and instructions as well. But Mortal Kombat 3 is a good one. It's often overlooked. It's in between Mortal Kombat 2 and Trilogy. But I really loved, and then Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 as well. Came out on the Genesis. But how about the original Mortal Kombat? Classic game. This is one of the games that put the Genesis on the map. Because, and this is complete with more cartridge and instructions. It was the game that was released with blood and gore and fatalities that were complete with real decapitation. The Super Nintendo one was very much so altered to be family friendly, or more or less family friendly. This was a big game that was released back in the day. And then, of course, Sega's answer to the Street Fighter buzz, Eternal Champions, which is also a pretty darn good fighting game in its own right. It's just, it lacks a certain couple things. They had developed it for unique tools. Let's just say that much. They released it with some, like the activator. Activated is what it says on it. But the activator was a game controller that you, well, I don't know if it was really even a controller, but it was a peripheral for the Genesis that you put on the floor, and then you'd stand over it. And if you stand over it and you would punch, your character would punch with it. Didn't work very well. But it was still a unique idea. Kind of one of those way before the Kinect or the Wii was a thing. This is Sega's answer to that. The fighting game itself, with a regular controller, plays very admirably. It's a fine game. What's next? I'll tell you what's next. It's one of the goats of the 16-bit era. The Super Nintendo Entertainment System. That's right, we got a Super NES in here as well. I don't even know where to set this. Oh my god. That's right. More controllers, more hookups, more power supplies. A whole bunch of stuff is in here. Everything that's in here is basically ready to be played. There are AVs for the Super Nintendo. I think technically there's AVs for everything, because the NES has got his own AVs. And with the power supply, you are set. Okay, we're moving you back. So out of everything that I've opened or looked at, pulled out of this box so far, what would you like to see me play tonight? Because I've kind of made myself available for the evening to play other things. Not just Emerald Dragon. I know we were playing Emerald Dragon the last couple of weeks, and I do want to keep playing it. But I could play something else tonight. Maybe something that's pulled out of the box. Let's see. What else do we got in here? We've got Acme Animation Factory. I believe this is kind of like a Mario Paint kind of game. It's by Sunsoft. One of those later gen Sunsoft games before they sold out to Acclaim. Speaking of that, Porky Pig's Haunted Holiday. I think this is one of the first games that they did. That and Arrow the Acrobat 2, when Acclaim purchased Sunsoft, which to me was like the beginning of the end of really, really big developers. Because Sunsoft, I always had a soft spot for Sunsoft. I loved Sunsoft. I loved their NES games, Journey to Silius, Batman Return of the Joker, Super Spy Hunter, you know, like Blaster Master. The games go on and on and on. But I always thought Sunsoft did such a great job with their games, and even into the 16-bit era, they were pushing the limits on what game systems could do, because they brought out some really good games on Nintendo, Super Nintendo and Genesis, all the way across the board. And when they went out of business and Acclaim bought them, I was so bummed. I was like, ugh, that sucks. Marvel Superheroes in Marvel's War of the Gems, a Capcom side-scrolling action game. It's a pretty cool one. I've never actually played this. No idea what War of the Gems is like. Actually never touched that one before. Ocean's Jurassic Park. It's a game that's really, really great to be played on an emulator, because it's a pretty long game. It takes like 3 to 5 hours to beat on average. And it does not have a save feature. Not even a password feature. So it's a good one to turn on and then never turn off until you beat it. So using save states is good with that one. Here's a double shot. Donkey Kong Country. Twice. It was 2 times in this bin. I believe we have 3 or 4 copies of this guy now. This is another good one. I've never played through Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3, and I've always been told I should play all 3 of them. When I first saw Donkey Country 2, and I think 3, I was always like, it just feels like the same thing over again. But apparently some of the level layouts and designs and stuff are so good, especially in 2, that it's worth playing through. Konami got the rights to the Tiny Toon Adventures, and so they made Buster Bust Loose. It's, I think, the best Tiny Toon game there was made, and it's really good. This is one game that I actually bought when it was new. I think I paid like $50 for this back in the day. Do not own it anymore, though. Hudson Soft, Inspector Gadget. I've never played this one either. It is from Lincoln Video here in Merrill, Wisconsin. The big silver S means it was sold. I love getting games with the Lincoln Video sign on it still. I think that's awesome. Timon and Pumbaa. This is a THQ game, so chances are it's probably terrible. I've never played this one. Timon and Pumbaa's Jungle Games. THQ, man. They are a rough developer. I actually thought that one was by Virgin. Virgin's a great company. They make some really good games. I feel like I'm running out of oxygen. Can't speak. Here's a couple crazy ones. So, well, I mean, a few. Remember how we had two whatchamacallits? Donkey Kong Countries? Well, we got 2 Super Mario Worlds. And it's interesting, they're actually different versions of Super Mario World. I think one is the pack-in title, and then one is the non-pack-in title. They're slightly altered on the top because of the title being in the middle and the title being on the side. So that's interesting. One's also the indented version, and one is the non-indented version of the cartridge. I remember when they switched to that, they did that primarily because people were pulling the cartridges out without pushing the eject button. So this is the newer one. This is the older one. 1991, 1991. Oh, 1991. Yeah. So, I don't know. Another Mario game, Mario's Time Machine. Nintendo licensed out Mario games to make edutainment games, educational entertainment games. I don't know Mario's Time Machine. I know Mario is Missing is pretty rough, but I don't know Mario's Time Machine. I've heard it's slightly better. One of the greatest games ever made. Compilation of Mario's 1, 2, and 3 and the Lost Levels. The Japanese version of Super Mario 2. Fucking phenomenal game. I have this already too, so this is a dupe. Another one we have is Final Fight, which was a launch title. This is one of the more beat up versions of Final Fight you'll ever see, but still fantastic game. Really glad to have it. And last but not least, probably the biggest pickup on the Super Nintendo out of all these, Contra 3: The Alien Wars. So good of a freaking run and gun game, balls to the walls, absolute high energy, incredible game. Contra 3. Now, I mean, I don't know how your birthdays were, but this is like hundreds of hours of games and 2 of the greatest game consoles of all time. I'm going to put these Genesis games down by my other Genesis games. But yeah, man, that's a phenomenal score. Just phenomenal score. So thank you, Dorkfather. I appreciate you so much. Thank you to everyone else that's contributed fun, cool things. I feel like a spoiled little brat because I think about what I've opened for Christmas, the games that I got. Now, I did wind up sending out a lot of cool stuff too, so it's not like I'm just being a spoiled little brat, but my good friend Ryan, when it is your birthday, when it is time for your birthday, I have plans for you, my dude. I got plans for you, my dude. So you just stay tuned, because things are going to get crazy. They're going to get crunk. But alright, I think we're good. I'm going to go switch it over to the game stuff, and we'll play some games. And if nobody's going to say anything, maybe I'll just jump into some Emerald Dragon. Love you guys. We'll talk to you guys next time.